Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to YHB News Friday morning updates. We are back in the building. Good morning. It is June the 4th, just past 6:30 in the morning. And if you are watching now live, you are here with me, Natasha Young, at the Younge Hollywood Blast, and we welcome you. It is so exciting to be back here. And for everyone that's just joining us for the first time, you can learn more about us, the Younge Hollywood Blast, at our website, youngehollywoodblast.com/blog/about. And I'm putting that into the comments here for everybody, and I'll just pop that up on the screen in a minute. But you are watching us now from HAPS, from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter video, from Twitch, and we are so excited to welcome you here in the comments. You can join us on HAPS. If you don't already have an account, you can sign up right now. Just download the app. It's that easy, and you can be on here in seconds chatting with us and joining us in the guest seats here on HAPS. We have 4 open every week. That is the new thing here with the community here at the Younge Hollywood Blast. We want to really come here to make sure that we can talk with all the members of our independent news-making community. And we are far reaching. We have a lot of different social networks that we operate from. And if you visit our blog, the About, you will see everything that we've been working on since 2011. We have been working hard. This is going to be a really exciting fall for us because it'll be our 10-year anniversary. So we cannot wait to really start moving these conversations that we're having in all these different spaces into one location, which to say is part of what I wanted to bring up today to the community. Really, really important discussion, which is where should our community hang out? We've been here. I'll just put up our socials right there. We've been on some different places and hanging out and talking with each other for the past several years. We have an initiative we call Crowdfund Monday, which we've been doing on Mondays. That's generated millions and millions of views over many, many years. We have the data, we have the statistics. People have gotten funded from that. We are very excited to expand what we're doing by having a conversation with you and finding out what you want to do, where we want to go with this. And so we want to hear from you. But first of all, I want to jump into the comments here on HAPS and just welcome and say, hey, what is up? Good morning, Darian Jordan. Thank you so much for that welcome back. And she's joining us all the way from the UK. Very happy to see you here in the comments. And I also see that we had some other comments right before the broadcast as well from one of our longtime supporters, Heavenly Dew. Thank you so much for stopping by. So just keep on sharing this broadcast. We have some very exciting things ahead for this broadcast. It's not just going to be just me talking about the community, which is very important. That's why we're here. This is a community news update section. But going forward, we're going to have room for interviews, featured interviews with amazing people that we come across in the independent community that are willing to share and talk about their experiences. And if you're one of those people and you're interested in being interviewed, definitely reach out to us and let us know anytime. We're here, and we're absolutely going to be looking for more guests to speak with in the future, but we do have an exciting interview coming up at 7 a.m. So before that, let's continue. So we need to find out where the community wants to talk with each other and work together on making this a space that is going to serve us all the best. And what we want to know is, will you help us to figure out where that should be? Because we really need you. You're the part of the community too, and we need you to help us figure that out. Now this week, what we did, because we spend the majority of our time on Twitter because that's our strongest presence. We've been there for I want to say since 2012. Yes. So we started the well, if you go to the about, you'll see we started the news publication in 2011. Right after that, I believe, or right around that time, we started the Twitter page for the Younge Hollywood Blast, and that's where we talk with our community every week. And this week we asked them in a poll, where should we hang out as a community? And I'm going to find that poll in just a minute. I was kind of getting all these different exciting new elements of our show ready, and kind of skip this part. So this is when we need an associate producer, which means AKA you, the community members who are making the news with us, to just stop through and be part of all this process. That would be an exciting, I believe, addition to all of this. But I do have it down here, so I'm just going to be scrolling through my feed. How is everybody doing out there? Hello. Where are you joining us from? And if you're awake at 6:40, what are you up to? I know there's a lot of people awake doing a lot of things in the independent and freelance community. If you are part of that community and you are out and about working on stuff and you just want to, you're listening to this broadcast and you want to just shout and say, hey, hop into the comments wherever you're at. Again, we can see your comments from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter video, and from Twitch, along with Hap. So, hey, how are you doing? Good morning. Be sure, if you're watching, to send this broadcast around to your friends. Let them know that we are here, and we're getting ready for an exciting interview coming up at 7. Before that, we're just chit-chatting with the community here. All right, I'm looking for that poll. The poll, POLL, the poll that we gave our community this week about where should the community hang out. And I am scrolling. Oh, finally, here it is. Here we go. I'm going to share this on screen with you guys so you can see it. And hey, yes, thanks for that response here. Darian is a little tired, but managing with coffee. Yes, and it's the afternoon there for you, so I totally get it. I will be managing with coffee in a minute. I didn't even have time to get the coffee going this morning. I couldn't get to sleep last night because I was so excited about coming here to this broadcast that I literally could not fall asleep. And then when I was done with all that nonsense, after like 3.5 hours of sleep, I didn't have enough time to make coffee. Of course. So you're one step ahead of me there, Darian. There's no coffee over here in the Younge Hollywood Blast Hap zone. We need coffee. We love coffee, in fact. So if if you ever, you know, just letting everybody know that we love coffee here, and we do love to see coffee uh, right here. So I'm just putting this out here over to the right that you can also help the blast and support us anytime. And it's thirsty work over here. So just let us know if you have any questions about this. But there's a link, and there's also, if you're here and you're enjoying the content, anytime you can hop into the awards, and you can see, if you're in Haps, you see little hands and high fives and different symbols. Those are our awards for our broadcasters here, just to help support their work. So just putting that out there and letting you guys know that is possible at any time throughout broadcast. But yeah, I actually do need coffee. And at least a hot cup of water, like that would be ideal for me right now, but we'll get to it. We'll definitely find that. Now let's see what's going on with our poll. So here it is, and this is what we asked the community this last week. Hopefully that isn't totally blurry on your end. For my end right now, it looks really blurry. Um, Hopefully that will stop being blurry for me, but I don't know. I think my internet connection's okay. Can you guys see this okay? Let me know. Um, it says I'm connected, so I think it's good. It's super blurry. Oh wow. Okay. I don't know what's going on with my presentation screen. This is supposed to be the poll. Um, the poll is This is the live feed from Twitter, and it's just really blurry. So let me take that off for a second. Um, and hopefully pull that up again in just a minute. Maybe what I'll try to do is screenshot it. I'll screenshot it and make a little different thing with that. But welcome everybody that's joining us now. Good morning. It's 6:45 a.m. at the Younge Hollywood Blast. This is Natasha Young, and you are joining us on YHB News Friday morning updates. We are so excited that you could join us here this morning. This is our first morning back, and we have some exciting things in store this morning. We have an interview coming up at 7 a.m. Right before that, we're having our community sort of dish. I don't know what we want to call this. This is our chop it up. This is what we're going to do in the mornings. A lot of people in the freelance community get up super early and start their day early. Am I right? Am I right? Some people don't. There's there's different speeds for different members of our community. Some of them prefer to sleep longer. Musicians, um, some musicians, but some people get up early. Some people naturally get up early. If you had a long shoot for like several days, sometimes you need extra sleep, and we are all about that. So just join us when you can, and you can watch this as a replay. What I'm trying to do right now is share with you the poll that we took last week about where we are going to hang out as a community. I'm going to try resharing this with the screen. Hey, is that clear? It looks clear from my end. Hey, welcome, JD Demers. Good morning. And we are welcoming all our members who are filtering in this morning, coffee cups in hand. Have you got a coffee? I think it's still morning where you are. Oh, great. It's clear. Yes. Yes, it's clear. Okay, so this was the poll that we gave our community on Twitter last week. We asked them, thanks guys, I can see it. Great. The poll was, where is your favorite place to spend time talking or interacting with your communities about your creative work in entertainment slash the arts online? So I put up a few different choices. I wasn't exactly sure like which communities are out there that people are using. So I've I've heard of Discord most recently because I've been hanging out here in Haps and chatting it up with Darian, and we've been talking about Discord, and I've been talking with a few other people as well who thought Discord was a very great community. Shout out to Eric. also Eric Levitt here on Haps. And so Discord is at the top of the list here. And then second, we put Facebook groups, and that is the space that we have actually had a group in the past. So we wanted to find out, is Facebook groups still a thing? Are people hanging out there as a community? Are they talking with each other on Facebook groups about their work in entertainment and the arts? Next, we put Clubhouse because, hey, Clubhouse is a buzzword. It's been talked about. Um, it's a thing, like it's happening right now. And then as another choice, we put other. So as you can see, here are the results from this Twitter poll this week, which was that other came in as the winner. But what is other? What was other? And we had some really interesting responses. And JD Devers, who's actually here this morning with us in the comments, he actually had a response in there that I thought was really interesting. He said, Google Groups. Would you like to talk with us more about what that is, JD, or just mention in the comments what that is? You can even hop into the seat, one of the seats here, and talk with us about it if you like. But I'm going to read this on screen. Um, you want to hop? You want to hop in? Okay. All right. I'm going to invite JD to come in and chat with us. You don't have to be on screen or on camera, JD, just so you know. But I'm going to go ahead and invite him in. But I'm going to read this response while we get him in here and chit chat with us about what this means. So Google Groups, anywhere we can have a quiet, I think, talk and nobody's looking in on what we're doing. Investors do not like social media platforms. And a few filmmakers will do what it takes to get real investors. Okay, so we're talking about that from that aspect, using the community for finding investors for filmmaking. So that's like sort of a niche part of our community that we are definitely serving, and we're looking to serve better. We are working right now on Mondays with Crowdfund Monday to make sure that we are sharing those campaigns. But yeah, is Google Groups also a space where communities hang out and talk about entertainment? Do you know, JD? Okay, so this is JD's responding in the comments here and says that investors stay away from those who promote their projects on Facebook or Facebook-like platforms. Yes, how do you go live with us? JD, I just sent you an invitation, and this is a great, actually, demonstration for everyone that's learning about how HAPS works and how we work here. I sent you an invitation to join the broadcast. If you're on your mobile phone, you would go to, I think there's a button at the bottom middle of the screen that says Join Broadcast. You click on that and you'll find in your list of broadcasts this one. It'll say YHB News Friday morning update. Hey, he's getting in here. I think I see him joining in. And JD, you're already unmiked, so if you want to chat about this, you can. If you want to, hey, good morning, JD.
Stand by as I get my camera going, or try to.
Okay. You don't have to be on screen if you don't want to, JD. And also, just to let you know, you can. I've just muted him for the minute while he gets his camera ready if he wants to. You don't have to have your camera ready. If you want to chit chat with us privately when you're inside of the broadcast, JD, there's a lock button on the comment section, and you just lock that. It goes pink, and then you can just chit chat back and forth with everyone that's in the green room. So that's how that works. But you're unmiked now, and do you want to talk some more about this?
I can, and I don't know why my camera is not coming up, because I was on a Zoom call or meeting earlier, and my camera was fine and everything was good. And since this is my first time going live with apps, I will assume that it may not read the XSplit VCam feed, which is where my camera goes through.
Oh, how
So
interesting. Okay.
yeah, so it could very well be that I got to drop my XSplit for them. I don't know, but if you guys are hearing me clearly, I
Yes,
certainly don't
we
mind
are.
having a conversation that at least plants some seeds into people who may or may not wish to eventually find equity funding participants, or people who have a experience in equity crowdfunding.
Absolutely. JD, first question for you. Are you broadcasting anywhere live right now when you join the broadcast?
I think my Twitter account is connected.
Twitter, did you connect do you have Periscope connected there? Because that will make a Twitter video as well.
I don't, because I don't use Periscope for intellectual property reasons, which is one
Got
thing
it.
I'll share. Everyone should
Okay.
be very well versed on these social media platforms and what the rights are once you start speaking about your project.
Aha.
That's
Okay,
why we
let's get into
stay away
that.
from Facebook. We,
Okay.
if you're trying to raise money for your project on Facebook, people like me will never get involved.
Love this. Let's talk about that. So what are how would you describe? Oh, here's your I see you now. There you are. We can see you. Good morning, JD.
Yay!
Hey.
Good morning.
Hey. Great to see you. So, we're talking specifically about investors or people that are trying to fund their films, right?
Yes.
And so what I'm looking for is a way to kind of chat with the community privately. So I definitely don't want to be in a space where we're talking, live about their projects in a public space, but looking for a private sort of community space where we can meet and talk about their, projects or what they're up
Mhm.
to, or how we can better share their news with them, or anything. Just sort of like also get resources from each other. That's sort of the idea behind my thinking behind the community, but people also may be looking to raise funds within that community. So that's where what we're talking about specifically right now, right?
Yes. And
You
so if
want to
you've got any
elaborate? Yeah, go
questions,
ahead.
I will answer. Um, let's see here. Is it 15? Um, the first thing I'm going to say about raising funds is to know what type of funds that you are raising. Are you raising funds for equity, for debt? Do you want it as a gift grant so you don't have to pay it back? What are the funds you're trying to raise? That's the first question when someone says, I'm trying to raise money. What kind of funds are you trying to raise? The response I usually get is, well, I didn't know there were different kinds or different types, or I had no idea. And then I usually respond with, who is your entertainment attorney? And when I get the response, I don't have one, I tell them they need to have one if they're going to do business with me or the people that I know that invest or would consider investing. I have had a group of people that I've been educating on film investment in North Carolina, very wealthy people. We're talking between the 8 of them over $1 billion. So they have the ability to invest if they want. The problem with film fundraising is that usually you find that there's someone you know that helped their nephew or their niece with a film project that they were doing for a few $100,000. And then they say it was going really well, they got distribution, and then they never saw their money again. But the film is still making money for the distributors. And that is heard a lot. Not, I'm just once or twice, but I can name a half a dozen people who've had that experience here in the Southeast, where they had the wealth, but they were helping someone who really didn't understand the distribution side and the return on investment side of this business. And so my goal in between my acting and my producing is try to help people become educated about that. I know of a project that was done the late 2019 down in Georgia, and it's a great concept, great project. Uh, the investors, it was their first time, and they invested with someone who knew how to make film, like produce something you'd want to go watch, but had no
Mm-hmm.
business concept. None. The name he called his production company was the same name of another production company that already existed in California,
Oh,
a
wow.
small boutique company. But he had never used an attorney to do anything in his production business, not from forming the company to writing the documents. He actually downloaded documents online and used those. And of course, these individuals found out after they got real attorneys that everything they had done was just worthless on paper, worthless. Even the people who invested in the project lost all $50,000, never see it again. So I share that because I know people that have a lot of great creative ideas, but when it comes to the business side of our industry, I find it lacking.
This is a great conversation. I'm so glad that you got on here with us this morning, and I'm hoping that we're going to continue this sort of conversation in the future. I know you've been a long time supporter and community member here. You've been hanging out in HAPS for a long time with us. For the we haven't been here too long, but you've been here, and
And I've been keeping up with you for very specific reasons that you do not know.
oh well, do you care to share?
I don't mind sharing. This is a good segue into it, and that is the industry has two distinct components that make it up. And within that, there are a number of threads that fall down that hold things. The two distinct groups are the people who work within this industry and pay mortgages, put their kids in school, put food on the table, take their vacations, do the things that people do when they're working for someone or in a business. And then there's the group of folks, I'll go back to the first group, and they have the experience and technical knowledge to be in the industry. They know how to make it, they know how to go out and get the money back for it so that they can do it again. The second group has gone to one of the many, 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 many schools now in this country that teach production and filmmaking. And they teach them how to make it and use all these wonderful new technological breakthroughs and editing with digital and cameras that are digital. And I can remember buying a camera in 2012, and I spent like $30,000 to get it rigged up. And that same package to do that same level of work 10 years earlier was about $75,000. So the cost
Mm.
for people to go into this business and make something that people want to go see and will part with their money to go see, or someone will contribute as a sponsor so that documentary is seen, or a grant, etc. Those groups of people that know how to go do it don't know how to connect at the business level so that when they get the money from someone, they pay it back so they don't become another statistic. Because I can tell you a dozen folks I've seen come through film school, and I am a faculty advisor at several in my area. I've
Mm.
been a faculty and professor adjunct at Savannah College of Art and Design, the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, which has a big film program, the Piedmont Community College Film and Technology program. I'm currently on faculty advisor over at Living Arts College, the School of Communication Arts. And there's still even more schools in North Carolina. And those are some of the ones I've named, except for the one in Savannah, Georgia. But the reason I bring them up is they're teaching everyone how to go make the content. But there are very few, if any, classes that teach you how to get paid back from the
Wait a
content you
minute.
create.
Yes, this is it. And we actually just want to point out in the comments, Darian is very thankful for you sharing this information. You're so right. The business
You are
side
so
is
welcome, Darian.
lacking. The business side is lacking.
Oh, it is. But you can thank the unions and the industry for that. The people that are
Hmm.
making all the money, for the most part, do not want you to know how to get paid. They don't mind you making it, because once it's in distribution, it's the distribution side making the money. And if you didn't have a good deal, you're just going to get what your deal says. And for a lot of people, they find out, oh my God, I'm going to make pittance until I get the film back in 5 years or 7 years or 3 years. And then they'll have a chance to go make money. But in the meantime, it will have been completely exploited, because it only takes 3 years to exploit a film worldwide. All the cycles everywhere. And then it is a repeat rerun. Now, who are the people that don't want you to know how that works? The unions, the Screen Actors Guilds, the Teamsters. And I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. But they are specific. Your job and your training is for what you do on set. You do not distribute. You have no knowledge, and you should have no right to know how that works. And the unions are barred from training you in those skills. They can teach you how to grip, light, gaff, makeup, hair, stunt, whatever, act, but they will not and are prohibited from telling you how to go do this and make money. The producers, in their negotiations very early on, decades ago, you wanted to get paid more money, fine, but then we're going to make sure we segregate our knowledge.
Wow.
And so the knowledge
Wow.
is segregated. I mean, don't just accept my word. Do your own research. Go find out,
Absolutely.
why are these organizations that will teach you how to make it, why don't
Hmm.
they teach you how to get paid for it?
Wait a minute. Let's put that. Why don't they teach you how to get paid for it? This
Because
is
what they're saying is
amazing.
payment is what you get from your union agreement with the Teamsters, or if it's non-union, whatever your deal is with that producer. I know people who have made little 10, 15, $20,000 films, paid the talent with food and a copy for their reel,
Hmm.
and they're making money off those films still, because there's more and more platforms opening. They're recycling those films to these new platforms. They're making money, and nobody else that worked on it is. And they'll go and do it again. They'll get 10 or 15,000 and say they're going to make a movie, and they're going to give you copy credit and whatever. And then they're out making money. They may only be making a couple hundred, $300 a month off those films. But if you've got 10 or 15 out there doing it, you have a business model. And you're going to keep doing that rather than elevating yourself to the next levels,
Hmm.
increasing your budgets from 10, 15,000, 25, 50,000, and then going up, so that you are literally building relationships financially with people who will go along on the journey with you, not like, or not unlike your production team, if they like working with you, want to stay with you on projects. Look at Spielberg. Look at some of these directors, and then drill down and look at the keys and the department heads. A lot of their projects have some of the same people on it, because when you
Hmm.
like working with someone, you will bring them back.
Yes.
Same thing on the money side. If I give you $50 and you say you're going to pay me back and you don't pay me back, you're never going to get another dime out of me. If I give you
Hmm.
$50 and a few weeks later or whatever, you give me my $50 back. When you need 100, I'm going to give you 100. Why? Because you paid me the 50. So I know that you're honorable and good. Everybody wants to see how well people are going to do before they fully engage with it. directors with actors. They don't cast them from a picture, they audition them, whether online or in person, because they want to see what their capabilities are. You hire a DP, you're going to see their reels. I mean, everybody's going to look at those things. So on the money side, that's where I get a little, at my age, a little warped, because it's like, how come filmmakers don't pay as much attention to the money side as they do to their production and their quality side?
JD, you are bringing so much to this conversation this morning. And this is one I hope that we're going to have again, because it is vital. I am so grateful that you're here to talk with us about some of this stuff, because we agree with all of that. There's so much to unpack. I'll be going back and replaying what you've shared with us, and I hope that we can set a time for us to actually just have you on to talk with us. And Darian's agreeing. I hope we can continue to talk about this. So is that something you'd be interested to do, to set up just us talking about this?
Sure, I would be glad to. And to sort of circle back to something I said earlier, I've been tracking you. I think it was somewhere, and I'm going to guess maybe around 2010 or 11 or 12, I first learned about the Younge Hollywood Blast. I had just been a disruptor to kids television by creating and producing a show out of North Carolina. There's only 2 episodes, series with 2 episodes, but I was having to prove a business model to potential investors, which was that I could disrupt Saturday morning local kids programming, which is highly contracted and highly controlled, because you've got to be an institutional educational program and have the appropriate level of educators approve your project at that level. Bottom line, I did it. And so as I started to break ceilings, because I wanted to, from a business perspective, find different ways to accomplish the same tasks, because I'd had failures in this business. And so, and those failures stemmed from a lack of knowledge. And so I went out to try to get the knowledge on how the distribution business side worked independently. And what I found is there's just too many liars, cheaters, and thieves in the Hollywood LA model that you really can't plug into someone. You can do some co-productions, etc. But the reality is self-building your audience, self-building the relationships, and creating your own business model based on what is successfully working out there may be the best approach. And so following you was, here's this person that wants to start a digital media company, providing access to the information within the industry, but she's not an industry insider. She's just doing it, and she's finding her own way. And I must say, I think you're doing an outstanding job from what I read and what I see, and with this foray into HAPS. The foray into HAPS is where I saw my opportunity to begin to share information with you as a person who has invested, who is a person who's produced and acted, and I've done a number of things. The one question people tend to ask me is, wow, that was great. Why didn't you do more of that? Or you were doing this over here. How come you didn't keep doing that? I'm one of these individuals that if I succeed at doing something, I don't have to do it a second or third or fourth time, prove anything to anyone, because I do things to please the person in the mirror, and that's me. And as long as I'm putting food on my table and living okay and the kids are taken care of, I really don't care much beyond that. So I just look to please myself in the mirror. Having said that, clearly I'm at a point now where I have enough knowledge that over the last year during the pandemic, I've kind of focused my redirection that when the pandemic would lift, I would be willing to share more publicly my knowledge, my information, and potentially my, checking account or the people that I know. There you go.
Well, let me first say thank you. And there's there's not words to describe what it feels like to hear in real time this feedback, that this positive feedback, because what I'm doing here is, again, it's more than just a hobby. This is really important to me, to get this information out to our community, to connect and talk with people like yourselves. You're making me emotional here, JD. I'm not gonna put on, get into, but it's like, I'm glad that you feel this way, and that you felt compelled to come and share that with me and with all of us. And I'm so looking forward to keeping this conversation going. So, again, thank you so much for hopping into the hot seat this morning. We're gonna start moving it into our next segment, but I'm looking forward to seeing you around even more.
Feel free to reach out with questions, and if you ever really want to schedule some time like this again, that's more structured and organized, I'll be available.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, JD. Hang out in the green room for just a minute if you can. Okay, great. Everybody, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It is 7:15 a.m. on June the 4th, 2021. We are at YHB News Friday morning updates. I am spun for a loop. I am so excited and over the moon to talk with members of our community like JD. You can also be one of those people in the chairs here chatting with us. If you haven't already, download the HAPS app. It's easy to hop on. And again, you can also comment and join us from wherever you're at. Whether that's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter video, we do get all of your comments there as well. So right now we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to just talk amongst ourselves in the comments. If you're here, this would be the time that we would meet and greet you and talk with you about what you're working on, meet each other. We're doing that throughout the show, but we just want to kind of formalize it and make it a more consistent thing going forward. So you'll see a notice for that during our break. Grab your coffee. I'm going to grab some hot water if I can find any around here. And when we come back on the other side of this break, you will get to meet our guest, our scheduled guest for this morning, which is Dr. Rob Carpenter. We cannot wait to share that with you. So I'm going to get us ready now to start our break, and I will see you all on the other side. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Natasha Young at the Younge Hollywood Blast. You are watching YHB News Friday morning updates. We are just getting ready to welcome our guest this morning, and we just took a 5-minute break. I hope everyone enjoyed that, and everybody that's joining us, whether you're on HAPS, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Twitter video, all those spaces, welcome. You can join us in the comments anytime. Even during the interview, you can ask questions, you can post comments, and we are looking forward to hearing you and your thoughts on this. But coming up, we have an amazing guest who's going to be joining us. Do you want to discover the untold secrets of happiness in a fun and uplifting read that could change your life? Have you ever been told that you should choose to be happy, but then not taught how to be happy? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then you have come to the right place. In the 48 Laws of Happiness, Dr. Rob Carpenter will teach you how to be happier in every area of your life using practical how-to approaches, easily digestible mini chapters, and cutting-edge research with inspirational stories of people from around the world. Dr. Rob will show you the secrets to happiness and what you can do to overcome the common traps preventing you from becoming the happiest and most confident version of yourself. Dr. Rob Carpenter, known simply as Dr. Rob, miraculously survived a tragic accident and vowed to not only rebuild his life, but to help other people rebuild their lives too. He has become a transformational author, filmmaker, and CEO who now advises professional athletes, celebrities, business titans, and everyday people on how they can become the best version of themselves. Dr. Rob has been featured in the New York Times, Business Insider, and People magazine, has been a former professor and filmmaker at the two-time Emmy Award-winning USC Media Institute for Social Change, and is the host of The Dr. Rob Show. He founded the School of Happiness and is the first in his family to graduate from college. So, without further ado, let's start this interview. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be joined here by Dr. Robert Carpenter. We know him as Dr. Rob, and I actually know him in real life. This is one of the most fun instances where I get to talk with someone who I know. And so welcome, first of all, Dr. Rob. How are you today?
Thank you so much for the invitation, Natasha. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. And without further ado, let's just dive into your book. This
Absolutely.
is the 48 Laws of Happiness. And we want to know more about you. So you're a doctor. Can you tell us more about you, about what your title means, and what have you studied?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my doctorate from the University of Southern California, and I essentially studied human development. I studied organizational development. I studied human change. So how people can use motivation and reflection to get from point A in their life, not just to point B, but to point Z, and all the way back again. And so I really am all about how individuals can grow, can learn, and can change. So that's what I studied at USC, and that's really kind of what I've tried to emphasize over the last 10 or so years of my life through various projects that I've done, various travels, and various sort of inner development work that I've done within myself. So that's kind of a little bit about my doctoral background.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so why this book and why now?
Absolutely. So happiness has always been something I've been really interested in. And it's funny because I remember people would say growing up, well, you can just choose to be happy and just choose it with your mind. And I would say, well, that's great, but how the heck do I choose it? What do I need to do? What are the specific steps? And so I was always a little bit frustrated because people would tell you that you needed to do this, but they wouldn't tell you how to do it, because our hearts need inspiration, but our minds need roadmaps. And so I felt like there weren't really that many other roadmaps out there that could really help us get to the maximum level of our happiness, or at least to the next level of our happiness, and the next level after that, the next level after that. And so as COVID hit, and I saw depression going through the roof for millions of people, and I saw suicides going through the roof, when I saw all of this calamity happening around us, both nationally and worldwide, I said, I have to put this book out there. I want to give people the tools and the solutions that they can use right now in their lives to be happier. And I don't want to just do it for people who are sort of on the extreme end of things, but people who are at various levels of happiness. So some people can have a lot of happiness in their life, but this book helps them get even a little bit more. Some people can have no happiness in their life, and it helps them get a lot more. So I really wanted to write a book that sort of ran the gamut in terms of solutions for people who are just looking to take that next step. Because as long as there's air in our body, as long as we're breathing, there's an ability for us to get happier and to get more joy in our lives. And so that's why I wrote the book and why it's coming out now.
I love that. I love that. And so let's talk about that. As long as you have air in your body and you can breathe, you can be happier. So, you've mentioned that you miraculously survived a tragic accident, and I'm guessing that if it was an accident that's tragic, that there was the possibility that you might not have had any more time here with us at that point. So can you talk a little bit more about what happened, what this key moment did, and why don't we see this as the first thing in your book? That was what I was also curious about, why you didn't share it in the book.
Absolutely. So all of us have this crucible, come to Jesus moment in our lives. Sometimes they're near-death experiences, sometimes they're other things, but all of us will be facing a moment where we aren't really in control and where things could literally be taken from us. And I had such a moment years ago where I was living in Los Angeles in downtown, and I was crossing the street on Sunset Boulevard, and a car came to make a right-hand turn as I was walking in the crosswalk, and I turned around and I was like, slow down. And as I did that, the car slowed down, but then unbeknownst to me, a car came from the left and smacked me. And I flipped over into the windshield, over the car, smacked the pavement. My head is gushing blood. Can't really feel my front teeth that are there. And I'm not really knowing what's going on. And there's oncoming traffic. And strange enough, it's like I feel this hand reach down and pull me up out of traffic, but there's nobody there. Like a chicken soup for the soul kind of moment. There's nobody there. And people witnessed this, and there's a car that stopped, and they happened to have clean cloths and medical gauze, and they rushed over to me, and they started to just kind of minister to me until the ambulance came. And the ambulance came, and they were, patching me up, and I looked at them and said, thank you guys, I appreciate you for taking care of me. They're like, he's going into shock. And then I blacked out. And so they rushed me to the hospital, USC, and the next thing I knew, I woke up with all these IVs in my arms. My head is wrapped like a mummy. And I asked the doc, what's going on? They're like, you have a skull fracture, you have lacerations all over your face. It's going to be very expensive. And I looked at them and I said, no, it's not. And they just sort of said, what? And I said, I don't have a skull fracture. I don't have lacerations, and I'm not going to pay for this. And mind you, I was on a little bit of the medication, but I felt it so sincerely. You know, those athletes like Muhammad Ali, they say, I'm the greatest, and they just know. It was really a mind over matter. It was really a moment where your beliefs are challenged. And so this is a completely true story. It can be completely verified. So a few weeks later, they took off the mummy mask from my face, no scars, no lacerations. The doctor's like, you have a lovely face. And I was like, hallelujah. And so then I went to the neurologist and the neurosurgeon, and they were looking at my brain scans, and they said, give us a moment. And they called whoever did it. And they said, this young man doesn't have a skull fracture at all. There's nothing wrong with him. And I was like, Then they went to the back, and they came out after a few minutes, and they said, oh, well, all of this is gratis. And I said, what does that mean? They said, all of this is on the house. You don't have to pay for anything. True story. And I knew in that moment that I had to rise up to be the person I was called to become. I had to help other people who have had their crucible moments or who are hoping to sort of change and grow. And so for me, that's when I knew I had to sort of put myself out there and really help other people, because I was lucky. The tragic part is the next day, somebody else was crossing in the same area, got hit, they didn't make it. And, you know, and I realized just how fragile life is, and I realized just how special it is, and how if we're not enjoying that specialness in the moment right now, then what is really the purpose of it? And so, because I was so driven and I was so hungry, and I'm very driven now, but I think I've learned to kind of take joy, not just in the destination, but take joy in the journey. And so I want to help other people take joy in their journey, because I think sometimes we're just too focused on, I have to get X, I have to get Y, whatever that means. It could be personally, it could be professionally. We're always looking ahead, but we're never really stopping to smell the roses. And we don't really understand how to smell the roses. And so for me, that was my crucible moment. And you know, it was a big doozy. In terms of why I didn't put it initially at the beginning of the book, it's funny because in the first draft I did. And I was thinking about it, I was reflecting on it, and I really wanted this book to not be about me. I really wanted it to be about the reader. I wanted it to be about the audience, about people who were consuming. And so, you know, I do share parts of my story throughout, but I really wanted this to be a book that focused on you, that focused on your happiness, focused on your issues, and not me. I felt like there were other books out there that talked about people's individual journeys to happiness, but I didn't feel like they provided the type of specific tools people needed. And one thing my doctoral work that showed me is that people need that step-by-step. People need the how-to. People need the blueprint. They need the manual. And so the book, I wanted to be a manual for people. Now, you know, in the book, I still have, you know, all sorts of stories from people from all over the world. You know, I have over 48 stories from different people from every ethnic and gender and geographic area on Earth. But I really didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about others. And so, and that's genuine. And I think, so yeah, that's partly why I didn't put that there. Now, there may be other books or maybe other occasions where I mentioned that story, but I think this one was really focused on the reader.
Well, I feel, first of all, emotional listening to that. I actually was choking up, and there were like tears welling, because I was thinking to myself, what if, you know, you had been this other person? What if I'd never had the opportunity to even meet you? So I am, first of all, very thankful that you survived this miraculous, tragic accident. And thank you for sharing that. And yeah, and I think, you know, it was very unique to me, you know, to you know, kind of get a sense, you know, because it's in the bio. When you read the book, you can see that it's mentioned. It's the first thing that's mentioned. I was like looking everywhere, going, I want to know what is the thing? What is the accident? But it does, you know, the anecdotes are really powerful, and they speak to each of the 48 laws so well. And you do mention some personal things throughout the book as well, that I think, you know, I, as a reader, I often want to know, well, what is the journey the author went on? But I also valued that it wasn't the only thing available in your book. It wasn't the only story available. We had more experiences to draw from. And so, so I feel special now that you've shared your journey with us in this
really
interview.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So, your book is packed to bursting with goodness. And you ask us to think about it as the official start of our own happiness journey. And, like most people who are ready to live a happier life, I can't wait to read it entirely. But you've suggested that readers don't binge on this book. And so why is that?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. And so I think starting off, it's really defining what happiness is. So happiness is liking yourself and being content with who you are and what you have. And I think because we've had so much negative programming over the years, whether it be at home, in school, in the workplace, on social media, in society in general, our minds and our brains have been conditioned in negative ways. As an example, a lot of people have negative self-talk, or a lot of times negative memories are literally embedded on a cellular level, and researchers have proven this. And so one of the ways that we break these things is we actually have to engage with our own traumas and overcome them in a positive way over a longer period of time. So we know obviously about habit forming behaviors of 21 days, 30 days, pick your happiness in terms of what works for you for that habit forming behavior. But I really wanted this book to enable people to spend 48 days, or that's a good, how many weeks is that? To spend, good 6 weeks or so, 6 or 7 weeks on developing their own happiness and truly reflecting on every aspect of their lives, on their mind, their emotions, etc., so that they can not just rush through the book, because the book is written very, very consumer friendly. So it's it's a breezy read, although it is on the longer side, but it is a very consumable read, so you can read it quickly. So I want to make sure people have that option as well. But for me, it's all about how can you really work on yourself over a long period of time. For me, my own personal development journey, I've spent thousands of hours reading, self-transformation books, studying it in school, going on journeys all around the world. Thousands of hours in tape, thousands of hours in meditation. I mean, a lot of development time, more so than a single read of a book could do in a couple of hours. And so it's taken a process. And so for me, I just felt that it was important that readers had that option of taking that period of time and not rushing through their own self-transformation, because people will be transformed with this book. I guarantee it. And, some aspect of their lives will change. I just wanted them to enjoy it and not to feel like it's, they're having to run out of the house, with it and have it all done, because there's nothing that can substitute for putting in the real inner work and in that time frame.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, sometimes I think when people are on a transformation journey, I consider myself to be on a transformation journey as well. And, 10 years into my own journey, I was, at the early part of it, I was like, why are things taking so long? Why is, but it's actually, that's part of the journey. And I love that you really encourage people who are on that sort of journey to know that it's okay, that it's taking time, that it isn't just about let's just make it all happen yesterday. That it's a
not
daily.
Just about having another book or having another credential, like, oh, hey, I have a happiness certificate. It's really not about that. It's really about allowing the reflection and allowing the growth to happen organically. If you're reading on your own, if you're reading with a friend or with a group, happening then in that group context. But yeah, I think great things take time. And so if we don't invest the time, we're not going to get the results that we want. I mean, even people who are at the highest levels, the Michael Jordans of the world, etc., they are already naturally talented, but they spend so much time in growing themselves. Well, the same thing should be true for our minds and our souls. And we have to spend time in growing and developing them. And so, yeah, that's why I encourage readers to do that if they're in the position to. I know not everybody can because of their schedules, but if they are, then I definitely would encourage them to. And each
Yes.
chapter is only 5 or 6, maybe 7 pages, some a little bit longer. So it really is meant to be something you can digest in 5 or 10 minutes a day.
And it is. When I was reading through it, I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy. I feel very grateful. Thank you so much for that. I was able to start digesting, some of these ideas. Like, large concepts were just written in such an easy way that I could, I understand that in actually 10 minutes. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah. So moving forward, the book is broken down into 7 sections. It covers mind, emotions, relationships, health, work, circumstances, and the world. And so I wanted to start with talking about the mind and a little bit about your 5th law, the law of living in the moment. Now, you encourage us to move our minds to the present. You give us 6 great tools that, to help us. And one of them was to create something. So you could create a blog, a poem, a painting, etc. And this is quoted from the book. We are more likely to lose ourselves in the creation of that thing and stop overthinking about the past and the future. And the best part is, what we create doesn't have to be a masterpiece, professional, or for anybody else's consumption. We can simply create for ourselves. Now, what really struck me about that, and I'm thinking about our audience who may also be professional creatives, some of them may have lost a connection to their own creativity, or they only associate it with work. So is there a way that they also can tap back into the healing power of their own creativity and use that tool?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Well, kind of taking a step back, I mean, our minds are extremely important. And what's interesting is we either pre-play the past, or replay the past, or we pre-play the future. So our minds kind of go in those 2 areas. And about 50% of us spend, or I should say 50% of our time is spent replaying the past or pre-playing the future. And most of the time when that happens, we're replaying negative circumstances or pre-playing possible negative circumstances, which is also called as anxiety. And so we're kind of in this mindset where at least 50% of our thoughts and our time are in this negative space. And so we need to break free from these things. I think a lot of times in terms of creatives, though, I think people can get very busy with work or life. They can get very busy creating the same types of things. They can get jaded with the commercial aspect of things. They can lose sort of their why, for why they're doing things. And I think one of the things is, a lot of times, if a creative becomes so successful, or if they've been doing it a long time, I think a lot of times they can forget, why they started to create in the first place, and they can forget that they need to create for themselves. And I think that's the key thing, is learning to create for yourself. When I wrote The 4 Laws of Happiness, I wrote this book knowing it was for the audience, but I wanted a book that I myself could consume over and over and over again. I'm a big believer in creating things that you yourself can digest. You have to be your own biggest fan. You have to be your own biggest customer. You have to be the person that says, I want this thing to exist, regardless of what the market says. So I think a lot of times with creatives aren't necessarily completely in control of their creativity. A lot of times they're working with non-creative people in industry, in say entertainment industry, and they're having to make compromises, or their full creativity is not on display. And that can become you can get very jaded by that over a period of time. And so you're not really truly expressing yourself. Or even on the other hand, if you're extremely successful, then you're creating for the market and not necessarily creating what's in your heart. I mean, there are great examples like George Lucas, for example. George Lucas, we know he's created Star Wars, but when you sit down and talk to him, he doesn't want to talk about Star Wars. Or, or he hasn't really created anything since Star Wars. I mean, he has, but it's just been for himself, or it's just been for his family and his friends. He's an Art Deco guy. He likes creating, there are these little individual weird masterpieces that sort of fit his soul, but he's like, this is not for public consumption. And so I think we just have to remember our why. We have to start creating again for ourselves. And when we do, I mean, I'm telling you, whether it's a book, a song, a screenplay, if it's a dance, it doesn't matter what you're creating. When you create for yourself, there is literally a joy. Dopamine gets released in your brain, the happy chemicals that get you on high, whether the same chemicals you have falling in love, or the same chemicals you have going on your favorite ride or watching your favorite movie. You trigger those same chemicals in your brain when you're creating for yourself. So I think part of it's just creating for yourself if you're a creative, or if you're not a creative, still creating for yourself, expressing yourself. I think the average person studies show stop creating at around second grade. And so they have lost touch with, I think, the soulful element of their humanity, because that's creativity. And even if you're creative, if you've lost touch with the soulful element of your humanity, it doesn't matter, you know, what you're putting out. I mean, how many artists have, you know, I was having dinner with a friend a few weeks ago, him and his family, and it's interesting because he's very successful. I won't mention his name, but everyone would know his work in the world. And you could tell he's very jaded by just creating for the studios. And even though he's had phenomenal success, he wants to do something else. And it's like, I'm just going to start doing it for me now. And I mean, he's won all sorts of Academy Awards, this, Golden Globes, that, and, you know, Tony's this. And so, you know, he had to reconnect with his own soul, with his own why. And I think for creatives, if they can reconnect with that just for themselves, that's fine. It's a part of self-care and creating for yourself.
So the question that I had next, I think it's a really important one. It's about the work section. So, you know, negativity comes up. It only comes up 13 times in your book, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, considering, you know, that negativity can really cause unhappiness a lot of the times.
Well, I like that you have that statistic, because I hadn't known that myself. 13 times. I'm going to quote you on it.
Okay. Yeah. And so, but it comes up in the discussion of your law, the law of the potter's wheel. And it really struck me because, you know, especially with the entertainment industry, like any work environment, you know, you can arrive at your dream job only to find that negative experiences have manifested in the form of inequality, bullying, or other interpersonal dynamics that you haven't really, you know, thought would be there. So in thinking about why this chapter was so meaningful to me, I just quickly looked up on reference.com, and it said there that, you know, we spend about 30% of our human life working. In the United States, it's 40 hours of work a week. And on average, we spend 25 to 30 years working. Is a lot of time. So
Absolutely.
This, you know, relating unhappiness to work is a really significant problem. And so why is happiness why is happiness at work so important right now, regardless of where you work?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I included this section because I had many experiences in the past where I was very unhappy at my own job. And I worked in some pretty dream organizations, or I had a lot of friends who worked in dream organizations that would be named the best places to work in the world or in America. And many of them were still unhappy despite it. And so I really wanted to kind of reflect on our workplace experiences and the fact, like you mentioned, that we spend over 2,000 hours a year in the workplace. We spend more time in the workplace with our colleagues than we do with our family and our friends. And we only spend a handful of hours with our family and our friends every single week or every year. And so our workplace happiness actually is probably a bigger contributor to, or unhappiness is a bigger contributor to our happiness than we might realize. And so I think for me, because I'd been shaped by so many negative workplace experiences, whether I had a political background and I had startups and in academia, and I had all of these different experiences, obviously in the entertainment industry, and I noticed that no matter who was involved, there were always negative Nancy's, negative Nathans, and there were always people that would try to bring me down. And I didn't necessarily have the tools for, okay, well, how do I deal with this? And sometimes I would deal with it in appropriate ways, or I'd bite my tongue. Other times I'd let myself kind of get to the edge and have to say something. And I didn't really have any sort of consistent, healthy mechanisms to address kind of the negative issues in the workplace. I think the other thing too is, like anybody, I would find, other people to sort of fraternize with at work friends, but we would sort of complain together. And that's how we bonded. But that still sort of kept me stuck in this negative state of complaining, even though I had a friend or friends who complained with me, but I was just kind of contributing to my own happiness because I was continuing to complain about what I was going through or what they were going through. And I realized that we can't do this. And I realized that we can't live for happy hour. We can't live for the weekend. We can't live for the raise, the bonus. We can't live for even the dream job. I'll give you some statistics, or at least some examples. The average doctor in America is very unhappy. In fact, medical doctors have the highest suicide rates of any profession in the world. The average attorney has some of the highest levels of depression. The average investment banker on Wall Street, on average, has incredible unhappiness. And this is all research proven, and I'm not just making it up. And so even if people get to their dream jobs, or look at celebrities, I have a chapter on celebrity and fame in there, and I quote a lot of different celebrities who talk about the fact that they thought fame would be their big solution. And they thought that type of success, that type of notoriety, and obviously it can trickle down. People can have different versions of what they consider success. So it could be social media likes, or it could be they're getting, the title that they want, or whatever the case may be. And they realize that even if they're in their dream job or achieve their dream goal, it's literally, according to research, the equivalent of getting a like. So in other words, if you become a celebrity, it's cool for a minute, and then, or you get a raise and get a new car, get celebrated on social media. It's cool for a minute, and it increases the dopamine in your brain, the pleasure centers, the happy centers, and then after a short period of time, it goes away. And so that's why you're dissatisfied. You're like, okay, well, I have to get this other thing. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be better. It's got to be bolder. And so we try to get to the next thing, and then it gives us our temporary high, and then it's the next thing. And so essentially, we're chasing happiness. So in our workplaces, we're either dissatisfied with our workplaces in general, or we're chasing happiness in these dream jobs, and we're never stopping to think, wait a second, I can be happy right now. And again, because happiness is liking yourself and be content with who you are and what you have, then you have to really start thinking about sort of, okay, I need to appreciate the workplace I'm in now. And you can do little things like writing down everything you're grateful for at your workplace. And you can, it's just like, I'm grateful for a paycheck. I'm grateful that it pays my bills. I'm grateful that it puts milk and eggs in the refrigerator. I'm grateful for this person that I've met. I'm grateful for this experience, and really start to enjoy and appreciate it. Because what I've learned about happiness at work is it's really not a matter of circumstances. It's a matter of perspective. And so if you have the right perspective.
Let's pause on that and really tap into that. It's a matter of perspective. No matter what the job is or where it is.
Absolutely.
I am so sorry to do this, but we have to jump straight into really letting the people know where they can find this, because I know you have another interview coming up, and I don't want to keep you from getting to that on time. So what can you tell us a little bit, what else is in store for the book? Are we going to be able to find it on Twitter, the laws, the affirmations? Is there an app that we can plug into? Where can the audience find the book and find you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. So the book can be found at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, kind of wherever books are sold. And in terms of the actual substance of the book, I wrote it essentially by outlining the specific traps you and I face in becoming happy, and then outlining tools for those traps to solve them, and that are science-based, and also giving inspirational stories. And so there are over 48 inspirational stories of people. I haven't counted, but hundreds and hundreds of science-based tools that are specific solutions. And, you can get all of that in the book and whatnot. And there also is a great appendix section, talks about the kind of clothes you can wear to be happier. That talks about the foods you can eat.
I'm wearing some of the happy clothes right now for people watching the live stream. It's got all the colors in there.
I love the colors. Very, very, very fashionable and fun. And the songs you can listen to make you happier. Again, all proven by research. None of this is my opinion. None of this is just, internet research. It's all proven. And so people can sort of look forward to that. If they want to learn a little bit more about me, they can go to drrob.tv. I have actually hundreds of free resources available for people, a free ebook as well if they want to check that site out and whatnot. But I just really appreciate this interview, Natasha. It's been an absolute pleasure seeing you again, and I'm just very grateful, and hopefully your audience has gotten some value out of this.
Well, we are so grateful to you. Thank you again for your time, Dr. Rob. And I've got a copy already. You can pre-order it if you're hearing this early. And if not, go get your copy now. It's going to be a reference tool you can use for the rest of your life. So thank you again, Dr. Rob. And
thank you. I really appreciate it.
We'll see you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching that amazing interview with Dr. Rob. Again, to find more about Dr. Rob, you can visit his website at drrob.tv. And if you're hanging out here in the comments, there's a link below to the book. So just want to thank our guest again for coming on, and you can follow Dr. Rob also at all of his socials to connect further. And I'm just going to put those up on screen for you again to make sure that you all have those as well. You can find him on Instagram at Dr. Rob Carpenter, on Facebook at Dr._Rob Carpenter, and again, his website, Dr. Rob TV. Well, we are coming to the end of this broadcast for this Friday, June the 4th. It's been an exciting one. I am so grateful to this audience for jumping in, joining us. Thank you to Darian. Thank you to JD. Thank you to everyone watching from YouTube to Facebook to Twitter. We have, again, an exciting week coming up. Just ahead, we will be having on Monday your favorite Crowd Fund Monday. But what's even more exciting is that we will be having an easier way for you to find out when this event is happening. So I'm going to share right now in the comments, if you're on Facebook and you are looking for an event, right here is the place to go. The Facebook event that we've created is going to help everyone to find our event going forward and get a reminder automatically. So if you like Facebook as that kind of tool, that's what we've put together here, and that's loading in. But once that link is there, I'll put it up on the screen. You can see this link in our HAPS comments. You can watch and view this HAPS replay anytime, and you can also see the comments when you open it up. But I think you do need to log in to leave a comment, but I think you can see this comment. So we'll wait till that loads in, but there's going to be a Facebook link to our Facebook event for Crowdfund Monday, which I'm really excited about. And our information about Crowdfund Monday is back. I'm going to post that right here as well, bit.ly/CF Monday 2021. If you want to learn more about how to use this space to crowdfund together as a community, then check that out. It will have all the details about what to do, and here is that Facebook link. It's not going to be as easy to remember. It's not a memorable link yet. I will make that. That's well, it might be easy. Zippy. It's an interesting link that just automatically got generated, but that's it. So that's what we have for you this morning. We want to invite you to, again, come back and talk with us as a community on Fridays. We're still trying to figure out, again, where should our community hang out and talk every week. We are creating a poll on Google, and we're going to be sending that out and getting more of your feedback, probably starting in the next broadcast, because we want to really get a broader idea. We got some idea this week on the Twitter poll, but we want to get more of your feedback. So come on by. We're going to be having 4 chairs open every week for our community to sit in, talk with each other, talk with us, talk with the audience live, and you can always hang out in the comments and chit chat there too. So we are so grateful for everyone that watched this broadcast. We will see you again on Monday morning. Until then, have a great weekend, guys, and make it a great Friday.